Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Corpus Christi Forum. My name is Father Joseph Lopez. I'm the pastor at St. Gertrude the Great Catholic Church in Kingsville, Texas.
And I'm Father Vasquez. I'm pastor of St. John the Baptist in Corpus Christi, Texas.
And we're going to be doing something a little bit different this episode. The title of our episode is Faith and Sports. We touched on it a little, well, we touch on sports every episode, but we made a mention last time about the Major League Baseball draft. And in conversation with Father Vasquez later, we thought maybe it'd be kind of neat, to bring some of our locals if we can have him as a guest. And we did. Father Vasquez reached out and invited Jose Trevino to be part of our episode as a guest. So he's going to be joining us in a little while. For those that aren't aware, Jose Trevino was born and grew up in Benbolt, Texas, and graduated from St. John Paul II High School in 2011. After high school, he went on to play baseball at Oral Roberts University. Father Vasquez knows him a little bit more on a personal level. So, Father, you want to share with us, before Jose joins us, you want to share with us a little bit about your experiences with him and him as a person, and also in relationship with him in baseball.
Yeah, I was a part of the creation of John Paul II High School, and my task was as teacher, and then eventually got involved with the baseball program right away. And at the time, we were still a fledgling school, still developing, and so Jose became an eighth grader, came into the system as an eighth grader into the middle school, and because of the way the rules work, he was allowed to play on the freshman team, which is all we had. So from his eighth grade year, he played with us as shortstop for the Centurion baseball program. And I watched him develop because at 5 years, I basically was part of his life, coaching for 5 years, along with the coaching staff there at John Paul that worked really, really hard with these guys. And my job really at the beginning was mostly working with them to develop them as persons, as human beings, as good young men. And Jose was always one of the best. He always, in talking to him, you can still hear in him a lot of what I saw in him as a young man, as a young boy, to grow up to a man now, in a professional career, still embracing the things that he was taught and learned in Catholic high school. He worked hard. He was never got in trouble that I can remember in school, and he kept up his grades, and he worked really, really hard on his baseball career. He was naturally very athletic as well, so that helped him a lot. And then for him to do so well in his high school career, as well as advancing to where he is now in baseball. He's a member of the Texas Rangers organization, playing in their minor league affiliate last time as in the Frisco Rough Riders AA. We don't know where he's going to be yet. That hasn't been determined, since it hasn't been a spring training and spring training season before the season begins. So we'll find out hopefully soon if he's advancing or if he's still in the AA program. But there's a lot of hope for him, because one of the things the majors look for are good guys and coachable guys and hardworking guys and guys who will take the job seriously. He's got all that. So hopefully that'll help him advance into the future. But he's come from a great family. His dad was part of the team, one of those parents that was always involved. His mom too, always around. She was at every game. His brother, his sister, coming to the games and watching him and cheering him on. He's the youngest. So it was really good that, not only is he a good kid, he comes from a great family. So that support and that help from school really has fueled him to where he is today.
So some people might be wondering, like, well, I thought y'all are focusing more on faith, and this is going to be on things that we know as Catholics and Christians. But there's a lot to be said about a profession of sport. I know one of St. John Paul II wrote extensively on it, an athlete himself, John Paul II, when he was growing up and as he matured. He wrote extensively. Can you share a little bit about, things that John Paul II, his thought and philosophy towards sport?
yeah, as you said, he was an athlete. So, you know, periodically he would speak about it. It would show up in his homilies or in his talks, or a little bit about himself. But it was in the Jubilee year, in the Jubilee year 2000, when he had a Jubilee of sports. That was one of the topics of the Jubilee year. And he developed extensively a lot the idea of how sports can assist the human person in their human formation, because sports highlights the virtues. If done well, in the light of Christ, in the light of faith, sports can have a great impact on a person's life, assuming that it's placed in its right priority. It never takes the place of the importance of family or work or even faith, but that faith can enlighten sports and really bring from that a great school, as the Holy Father mentioned, a school of the virtues. So imagine in sports, you're learning sacrifice, you're learning teamwork, you're learning humility. I mean, baseball is one of the best sports to teach you humility, because I always used to remind them that in baseball, if you fail, you're going to fail a lot more than you succeed. You're going to bat 300 means that every 10 times you're at bat, uh, only 3 times do you make a base hit, and if you do that, you're a Hall of Famer in the major leagues. You know,
Yep.
so you're going to fail a lot. So it teaches you patience. It teaches you not to get too inflated in yourself about who you are, because baseball is one of those sports, especially, that will smack you right in the face if you get a little bit too bloated, um, too pig-headed. But it also teaches you to compassion to your brothers on the team. When they're struggling, you pick them up, and knowing that you have a commitment to them, a responsibility to them. It taught the boys a lot about, if you're not at practice, if you're not in the weight room, if you're not working hard, then you're letting your team down.
Right.
You're not being a good brother. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. If you're getting in trouble at school, and that happened a few times with our team, they got in trouble, and it affected the whole team because a few of them couldn't play. And I would remind them, because of what you did, not only are you in trouble, but now you hurt your team, because we're going to have to do without you. We're going to have to figure out how to win without some of our important players or our star players. But it also, shows many other virtues that can be highlighted in sports, beyond the discipline, self-discipline, those kinds of things. And then when seen in the light of Christ, we see them as a way to be grateful to God for the gifts that we have. I mean, I watched some of these guys and I saw how strong and athletic they were. Not everybody is strong and athletic. Not everyone has those talents to be able to do that. They did. And I would always tell them, you've got to learn to be grateful to God for this. Who else gets to go to high school and play these sports and enjoy it and do really well, and then go on even to college and play sports? Not everybody can. And so you have to be grateful to God for these gifts, and use them for good. You're using them for the glory of God in everything that you do. I think it's important. It's important for the development of young people, and teaching them things that are more important than themselves. It teaches them not to be selfish or self-centered, but understand how important it is to work as a team. So what the Holy Father was trying to teach us is not to discard athletics as some sort of just menial, uselessness, but that there was something of value in the development of the human person, in the human formation of a young person that is of great importance today, helping them to become mature men.
So I think it's going to be really neat having Jose join us with that, and I'm pretty sure, especially those that have kept up with him and talked to him, some of those things that he's learned when he was going through John Paul II, and through not only with the community there on the student body, but in particular what he learned on the field and off the field with the coaching staff. So hopefully, when everybody's able to enjoy this, we look forward to having Jose come on here in just a brief moment.
Oh,
Hey, Jose, how are you doing?
good. How's it going, Father?
Very good. Thank you for joining us. This is actually a special treat for us. This is something that Father Vasquez and I spoke about last week, following up from our mentioning about baseball and the Major League Baseball draft. And we decided, you know what, it'd be great. I mean, we have some locals from here that are actually professional athletes. And
Yeah.
we're so glad that you're able to join us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I think it's gonna be fun.
And Father, thank you for helping organize getting Jose Trevino with us.
Yeah, Jose, I've known since he was, an eighth grader, playing on varsity baseball at a Catholic school. So I've known him for a while, and we know that I've been following his career. I famously once told him that when he was playing, that it was what I was expecting was to see him play on ESPN someday, and I did. I got to see that, and hopefully more.
Sorry.
So you have a little one, don't you?
Yeah, 2-year-old. He doesn't like when the TV's turned down or his toys are getting put away. He don't like that.
Well, Jose, can you share with us a little bit, being a professional athlete? Oh, and before we do that, just so everybody knows, Jose Trevino is a graduate, 2011 graduate of St. John Paul II High School. So definitely a great blessing. And a lot of people know Jose through especially in the baseball community around South Texas. So just in case anybody is kind of trying to put the pieces together.
And also, just to chime in a little bit there, two-time, right, Jose?
There we go.
Baseball.
I don't like to brag. And y'all know
brag.
that. So
Right. I'll do that. Two-time, and he holds the record. I still believe the record's holding for most home runs in a single season in the state of Texas at 25. All right, Jose, right? 25.
yeah, what a crazy year. That was a fun one.
The same year he was pitching some of those state tournament games, so that was quite a
So I think we got cut off. Just Father, just for clarification, Jose is a two-time
state champion, because John Paul won the state title in 2010 and 2011.
I got something for y'all. Check this out.
So now we're going to be reminded of those times, huh?
Oh yeah, we are. Anytime someone brings them up, we have to. There we go. There's one of them, and there's the other one. I think this was the first one, and this was the second one. I got to check the years, but yeah. See how quick I was able to grab those? I am not shy about showing these off. These things are my favorite. Those are my favorite championships of all time. Favorite teammates, coaches, everything. Great times.
That was a real good staff, coaching staff that was there. Of course, led by the prolific Steve Castillo. So very exciting time. One of the things, and speaking of Coach Castillo, one of the things that I believe Coach Castillo especially amplified at a Catholic high school, being able to express our faith, right? So being under that influence, not only with Coach Castillo but also at the Catholic high school, how has your faith been important to you? How has it played out in your career as a professional athlete?
It's been big, like bigger than what people expect, because some days you're out there all alone. You're out there alone on an island. Like maybe you're not hitting so well. Maybe things aren't going your way. Maybe, and you don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to talk to anybody. Maybe you're at a road where you're like, you know what, like I'm just having this is a bad month, a bad week, a bad day, and you need to talk to somebody. And me, I'm big with the rosary, and that's something that Coach Castillo implemented with our team when we were at John Paul. And I really, when I went off to college, stayed with the rosary. Pro ball, stayed with the rosary, and that's just something that I hold dear to my heart. And of course, it reminds me of Coach. Every time I pray, and I'm like, oh, I bet you this dude already prayed 4 times today. So he would always tell us, like, hey, you need someone to talk to. You need something. You're thinking about something. Use the rosary. Pray the rosary. So I'm very, very big on the rosary. My family knows that. The other day, we were at a funeral for one of my buddy's dads, and I said the whole rosary. And my mom was like, how do you know all that? And I'm like, Mom, I pray the rosary all the time. Like this is what I do. Like, and even if I'm not praying it myself, I listen to it. Sometimes I listen to it and I'll follow along, but it definitely has played a big part, because there's some days where you're on the road, especially in the minor leagues. You're in some city, and you're like, man, I did not do good today. I did not do good the past few days. I need some kind of guidance. I need something to help me out, something to keep my faith strong, and keep believing in myself. Because there are times when you get beat down to the ground. You're like, I think this is rock bottom, and I don't know where to go from here. And then there's times where you're on the ultimate highest of highs, and you're like, man, this is great. And there's times to be thankful for that. So it has played a big part for me, a very, very big part.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Definitely a product of a Catholic education, and surrounded by individuals who support that, such as Coach Castillo. And of course, I know Father Vasquez had been involved a lot with your time with the baseball team at JP2. Okay, so we heard your little one getting a little upset over there. So you're a father.
Yes.
And this coming weekend, we celebrate Father's Day weekend. Holds a special place for you, being a father, and what happened 2 years ago during your debut with the Rangers, the Major League. Can you share a little bit about that? How the magnitude of it, the awesomeness of it?
Yeah. I don't think it was a coincidence. I think it was a miracle. Like, honestly, like, thinking about it, I know there's baseball fans out there that, like, they have different beliefs. They don't believe, some people don't believe in angels, saints, miracles, that kind of stuff. But I do. Like, I'm big on it. And I believe, like, if I were to tell y'all the day I got called up, I was ready to be in the big leagues, I'd have to go to confession, because I'd be lying to y'all, because I wasn't ready. Like, my swing wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready physically, mentally. I just wasn't ready. I just had my son 5 days before that, and honestly, like, it's crazy how you asked me about faith, and in the game, like, it was all faith. Like, I was like, you know what, I'm here. I've worked so hard to get here, and I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. I know I have the skills. I know I have the abilities, and but like I said, if I told you I was ready to get to the big leagues that day, I'd be lying to you. And being there, getting my first hit, I think the 16th was the day I got my first hit. The next day was Father's Day, and I'm like, something weird. I had this feeling, and I'm gonna say it was in my gut, it was in my heart, it was in my head. And I'm like, man, I have this weird feeling, and like, I felt empty. Like, I was like, man, Father's Day, I'm in the big leagues. Like, I wish my dad was here. And then I turn around, I see my son 5 days old, 6 days old, and I'm like, something's gonna happen. Like, something crazy is gonna happen. Something. I wasn't even supposed to be at that game. I wasn't even supposed to be at the game on the 16th. Basically, what happened was, I get called up on the 15th. I'm in Frisco. I have a bag that I was packing for, the big leagues. And I told my girlfriend, my mom, and her mom, I said, if I come and get this bag, you know what's happening. And sure enough, I go to the field that day. I get the call, and I run back to the apartment. And then, if you know anything about DFW traffic, like, it is bad. And especially around the time that I got called up and was supposed to be at the field, it was like 4 o'clock. It was 4:05 when I got the call. So I had to go back to my apartment, which was like 10 minutes down the road, get my bag, and then deal with 3 women in an apartment with a little child screaming, like, going crazy. And they're like, what do we got to do? Tickets, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, just wait. Just let me go over there. So ended up driving down the road, and crazy how you say faith and everything ties up. Like, the further I was from the stadium, the more I didn't think I was going to play. And as I started getting there, about halfway, I was like, I think I'm going to play tonight. I have a feeling I'm going to play. And I don't know what it is, but something's like, it's like something's going like, hey, like, get ready, or like poking me. And I'm like, I think I'm going to play. All right, I need to get mentally ready to play. So I drive up to the stadium. I'm late. It's like 5:30, 6 o'clock. So battling that traffic, almost ran out of gas. They're barely putting gas stations on that tollway, so thank God for that. And I get into the stadium, I go to these meetings, hitters meetings, whatever. I get there, get my uniform. I'm like, wow, man, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm in the big leagues. I get out there for the anthem, uh, and I do this thing where, like when the anthem's playing, um, I sit there and I pray. I get very thankful. Um, and I always think about my dad. Always, always. For some reason, I don't know why. I'm always like, man, it'd be so cool if my dad was here. And I always envision myself like on the line in that stadium, eyes closed, but turning back, I always saw my mom, my dad. And the fact that my dad wasn't there was kind of like, it grabbed a little bit. I got a little emotional there on the line. I was like, man, I can't believe I'm here. The anthem finishes. I get in the dugout, second or third. I think it's the second inning rolls around. I'm starting catcher at the time. There's a play at the plate, and I'm just looking. I'm looking at the play, and I'm like, oh, his ankle. And I'm like, uh-oh, it's my turn now. So he rolled his ankle, he sprained his ankle, and I was like, no way. And I think before they could tell me like, hey, you're going in, I already had my full catcher's gear on. I was like, I'm not missing this chance right here. So they were like, hey, you're gonna go in next inning. So I ended up going in, and I remember like always looking up at the big screen in right field. I'm like, oh, this is big. And then the first guy I think that comes up is Trevor Story, and I'm like, this guy's a big leaguer. Like, this is a legit big leaguer. And then it's like Nolan Arenado, Ian Desmond, Charlie Blackmon. These guys are just rolling in. And I'm like, all-star, big leaguer, all-star. I'm like, wow, I'm here. It's time to wake up, dude. So sure enough, that day happens. I think we lose. I get a text the next morning. I was waiting around, kind of seeing if they were going to be like, hey, you're going to play tomorrow. Hey, you're welcome back tomorrow. Like I said, I wasn't supposed to be there on the 16th. They told me I was going to go back to Frisco. And sure enough, they're like, hey, send me a text message. They're like, hey, you just bought yourself another day in the big leagues. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Boom, I take off over there. I'm pretty sure I got there like at 8. And sure enough, Skip, manager at the time, was like, hey, you're catching. At that moment, I was like, uh-oh, here we go. So I got a little nervous there. Like you said, faith. I was like, man, I've done this before, say a prayer, I'm good. The rosary, like, I'm like, oh, I'm good. A Hail Mary, Our Father, I'm good. Like, I just ease myself, like trying to just calm down. And sure enough, I get my first at bat, and I'm up there shaking. I'm like, oh no, I got to get out of here. Swing first pitch, double play, and I'm like, I didn't even care if I got out. I didn't care what happened. I just needed to get out of that moment. I was like, man, I was way too nervous. And then, sure enough, like a bat rolls on. I come up, big situation. On the 16th, I get the RBI, game tying RBI, and we end up winning that game. And so there I am again, sitting in the locker room, like, are these guys gonna invite me back for this next day, or am I just gonna go back to Frisco? Like, what am I doing? And sure enough, they're like, hey, Chirinos is coming off the injured list. He's gonna play tomorrow, Father's Day. But the catcher at the time that I was backing up, he rolled his ankle pretty bad. They're like, hey, you're gonna back up tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they're like, yeah, you're probably not gonna play, but you're gonna back up. And I'm telling you, I got to the field that day, and it was a day game. I got there in the morning, and I'm driving to the stadium, and there it is again, like something like, hey, get ready, and I'm like, there's no way I play today. And I'm like, no, he's gonna start, do this. And I just kind of started playing out all these scenarios. I'm like, no, you're not gonna play. Just enjoy your day in the big leagues on the bench, like whatever. So everything's going on, and man, from then on, it was like the 6th inning, 7th inning, and then the 8th inning rolls up, and we're losing, we're down, and they're like, hey, Trevino's got hit in the foot. He got hit on the bottom of the foot. And sure enough, like, they're like, hey, kid, you're in. And then at that moment, I was like, all right, something's going to happen. And I remember I went in to catch a defensive replacement, caught, did it all, came out of the game in the dugout, and we're down like 5 runs, and I'm counting on the big screen like 1, 2, 3, and I'm like 7 guys away, and I'm like, oh no, something's gonna happen. something's gonna happen. And sure enough, I promise you, there's a security guard that the security guard for our team. He's standing next to me, and I'm grabbing my bat and I'm like hitting off the tee, like trying to get my swing right. And I turn to him and I go, Mr. Blake, I think something's gonna happen. And he's sitting there just minding his own business, and he's like, I sure hope so, because we're down big. And there I go. I walk up to the dugout, and then I can't remember. I think Gallo like walked, Guzman walked, and then there I was. Like I was in that situation. You know, some people call it destiny, but everything at that moment, it was crazy. 3-1 count. I remember 3-1 count. I took a hack that I thought I was gonna blow my back out, and I was like, why did I do that? I don't know why I did that. That was dumb. I stepped out, and I 3-2 count. You know, bottom of the ninth. You think of it as a kid, except for 2 outs, there was 1 out, and I immediately I thought of my dad, and I was like, this is something that we did in the backyard. This is something, you know, I was ready for it. Sure enough, stepped in the box, got like some sort of the same pitch, jam shot over short, and it was just I still can't find the words to explain it. I get emotional every time I talk about it. It's just it was a crazy thing. Like I can still feel myself like there at that time, what I was doing. I remember everything. I was like as soon as I hit the ball, I was like, no way, like they're catching that. Like hit. You have a Gold Glove shortstop out there running after the ball. I'm like, oh, he's catching that. And then for some reason, like one of my good friends is at second base, and he makes the best read of all time with 1 out at second base to win the game. The winner on second base, he knew like the ball was gonna fall. Everything, you know, just lined up. If you watch the video, you see my buddy sliding in, and you can hear me like screaming, yelling, like I don't know. And I just looked up, and I felt like I was giving a hug. It was just, oh man. So it was special. It was a very special moment for me, for my family. You know, my son's gonna get older and watch that and be like, oh, "Wow, you did that!" Like he's probably not gonna believe me, but yeah. So, but yeah, definitely big moment. And I always said like, if that's the biggest moment in my career, I think I'm good with it. I love to win. Father Vasquez know that. I am the biggest competitor of all time. If I don't win a World Series, that moment, I'm okay with that.
You know, I remember as you were describing that, I remember watching because we were all, I got a text message from like several people to say, hey, he's going to be on today.
Yeah, pray for him. His swing doesn't look good.
I remember the same thing watching, well, you know, if they get a couple of guys on base, he might get a chance to do something. And I remember the same thing. And you were talking about your dad when we were in high school baseball. Your dad was in the dugout every game. He was the statistician, and he did a lot of work in the summer with the club. And I always remember when Jose would be up to pitch, because when he was up to bat, I was on first base most of the time, except at the end. When he was up to pitch, I was in the dugout, and I remember his dad would always kind of like nudge me and go, watch this, father, because something good's about to happen here. Watch this. He always had this like little knack, like, and he would smile and he'd turn around and go like, watch this, like right here, Jose's gonna get him. And I would always, I enjoyed that because I could tell he really thrived and loved to watch the thing. It would spread out to all the other guys. He would tell them, come on, you can do better than that. Just because he was so enthusiastic about it. And when that moment happened, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how wonderful would it have been for him to be sitting there. It's almost like he belonged in that Rangers dugout with the stat book, taking the notes, telling the coach, watch this. Something's about to happen right here. I kept thinking about those days when I watched that. There is another thing I did. Go ahead, Father.
Just so we're clear, just that for people that aren't aware, Jose actually the three of us, we've lost our fathers, have died. But just that people are aware, that's the reason why Jose was making those references, wishing his father was there and so forth. Not that his father choose not to be in his life, he's passed on.
Yeah. Which all three of us, you were first, Jose, all three of us can testify how hard that is to experience and how difficult, even years later, it doesn't matter how much time has passed. It's always hard. I did want to ask you, there's a lot of young guys today here in Corpus Christi. We talked about it last week, how a few of them were drafted. One guy from Ray, one guy from Refugio were drafted this year. And a lot of guys have dreams to get there. And we always talked about it. You and I talked about it. Everybody heard it. Those dreams are big, but you got to work really, really hard. You can't just expect them to roll right into your lap. What would you say to the young guys today, and maybe high schoolers who are thinking they dream to follow your path? What kind of advice would you give?
First thing, if they have that dream, reach out to me. Talk to me. If this video finds you and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do, reach out to me. I'll give you my cell number, especially if you're from Corpus, South Texas. Like, I'll reach out to you. It was hard. It's crazy looking back now. You're like, I can't believe I went through all that. I can't believe I've done that. And I'm not the type of guy to be like, hey, like, look what I've done in the past. Like, look how far I've come. I'm not like that. But to be honest, it was hard. You're gonna have to. There's sacrifices. There's hanging out with friends. There's girlfriends. There's schoolwork involved. There's there's little things you need to practice on. Whether it's how to conduct an interview, whether it's how to talk to a professor, how to talk to a professional scout. There's things that go into this stuff. What to say to certain scouts, what to say, it's where you don't sound not coachable and you're coachable. Like, there's so many things about it. But I would say if I had to sum something up, it's sacrifices. And Father can attest to this. I was dedicated, and if you want to get to the ultimate goal, which is the big leagues and win, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. I have stories about Coach Castillo saying, hey, you got to sacrifice this, you got to sacrifice that. You can't hang out with that group of friends. They're steering you in the wrong direction. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. Sure enough, get rid of them. Like, hey, we can be cool, but hey, not too close. But definitely sacrifice. And not only the sacrifices from you as a player, but your parents are going to sacrifice too. Like, they're going to spend the money on those extra hitting lessons. They're going to spend that money on you going to that travel tournament. They're going to spend that money on that gas that's, taking you to wherever you need to go. And that's something as a parent now that I didn't realize how much my parents invested in me, and how many people around me wanted me to succeed. A couple of years ago, I got my jersey retired at John Paul, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. I feel like everybody that was involved should be here right now, because it literally took a village. Like, people, when there was days where I was like, hey, you know what, I can't do this, and they're like, nope, you go on, you keep going. And obviously having someone like Coach Castillo and teammates and everybody reaching out like, hey, we're super proud of you, even when I'm struggling. Hey, we're super proud of you, man. Like, no matter what, we're following you. And it was great through the minor leagues. And when I got to the big leagues, it was like people were like, dude, we knew this was going to happen. Why are you so surprised? And that's the thing. Those are the kind of people you want around you. And me, like, I want to play in the big leagues no matter what. I was going to do anything I could. But to have the people behind me always pushing me and being like, hey, this shouldn't be a surprise for you. Like, we all knew you were going to get here, and now just keep making us proud. And I was like, man, that's awesome. So sacrifice, the people around you in your group are going to be big. Whether it's guys like me who are at the level right now and can give you small tips, like I said earlier, or some advice when going through the draft or going to workouts and what to tell college. It's a lot of little things that make a big difference in the end that you didn't even know that they helped.
Yeah. I remember as you were talking, after every practice and every game, coach would talk to everybody about how we did or what we need to do to prepare for the next game or whatnot. And there was always something that showed up as you were talking every single practice. I'm sure you'll remember as soon as I say it. He would talk about your priorities, God first, then your family, then your academics, then baseball, and everything else will be after that. And if you take care of the first, everything will fall in its place. I got tired of hearing it, to be honest with you, but he was saying it every single day. And as you were talking, I thought you're just saying the very same thing that he was trying to teach everybody. That's the success. That's the key to everything. And you're putting it into practice.
Yeah. And I think you're totally right. Like we've talked about, Coach Castillo, like he's had a big take on my career, but establishing those values for me, and like you said, you get tired of hearing it, but now I wish I can hear it every day. Like I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what this dude is giving me a sneak peek of what's coming in the future, like what I have to do to be successful in life. These are the ways, and I'm like, wow, like it makes sense. At the time, it's like, oh, okay, coach, all right, coach, like go ahead, let's go do it. And I remember we had that our senior year. It was God, family, and country, and then it was be not afraid, and it was always that God, family, and we said our prayers, we had our blessings, and we took care of each other because we were family.
Yeah.
And then we went and we were like, you know what? And then be not afraid. We're like, let's go. We're good. We know who we are. So seeing that, looking back on that, and like those times at when I was in high school were the best times for me. Just because of, not because we won, not because I was able to go and further my skills at a college, but the people that we were around, like my mom always says, it was like a little village. Like it was like a village, it was like a little city of people, and everybody cared for each other, and everybody wanted to see everybody do good. And if you just so happen to have that, the academics and the athleticism to move on, people were like pushing you out, like go ahead, like. And it's crazy that we talk about this because Miss Davis was one of my teachers, and she just started a nonprofit organization. I just put something out on social media yesterday, and it's blowing up. Like people are donating hundreds of dollars to her. And so like you said, like it's the people around you in that community that we were all locked in. So, and still to this day, I feel like I haven't talked to Coach Steele probably in like 3 days because he calls me all the time. And but we're always talking, always having that communication, even my teammates, and then now teachers, So
yeah. Well, that's where I get my updates from, by the way. I see him every weekend, and he tells me what's going on with you all the time.
Yeah, he calls me at least twice a week, all the time. If you ever need to talk, I don't care what time it is, call me. I'm like, all right, coach, I got you. All right. So
Let's say, what do you think about baseball returning? We're in the middle of this pandemic, and there's so much unknown what's going to happen. And I know that there's some conversations happening with the Players Association and the commissioner and so forth. And I know that there may be some things that you haven't mentioned, which is fine, because there's some privacy. But what you are able to say, what are your thoughts?
I'm confident that it's coming back. I'm about 80-20 it's coming back. Early on it was like 50-50, 60-40, I don't know, 40-60. It was going 75-25, 80-20 the other way. You're like, oh no, this isn't happening. So I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. Talking with other guys around from our team and different teams, we're ready to play. And then from there, it just goes into the business, and that's the messy part. That's also another thing. If kids want to play at the major league level, talk to me about the business side, because the business side, it's tough. It's a game, but the Major League Baseball, it's a business. It's a business. You're an investment. They invest a lot in you, so you got to see it at some point. You see it like that, and it's just I won't get into logistics, anything like that, because it'll take 3 hours. But I'm pretty optimistic. I'm very excited. obviously we got a new stadium, new jerseys, we got new everything. So we want to show it off a little bit, and we got a great team, great team, and I think we're going to sneak up on some people. And I think it's going to be too late when they realize.
Hey, so so during this time, I know that in the past, you've had some injuries. Have you been able to
Hmm.
heal up, strengthen? You feel good
Yeah,
right now?
yeah.
That's
So I had, gosh, man, I broke my finger in spring training. Just trying this new catching stuff. Ended up breaking my right index finger right about here. Um, I was pretty much like set out. Usually I keep my hand inside of my thigh, and my hand was out, kind of like this, just foul tip. It was literally like the dude should have missed. If he'd have swung and missed it, I catch the ball. But he hit it, like tipped it, changed direction, boom, and I got hit, and I was like, "Oh, that's broken."
oh man.
Threw the ball back, and I was like, "No, that's broken." And sure enough, I was like, the trainers were wanting to come out. I was like, "Come on, let me finish the inning. I know it's broken. I'll tell you later, but let me finish this because I might be able to do this for a couple of weeks." Sure enough, I finished the inning. Um, there was a guy that actually tried to steal on me too, and I was like, dude popped it up. I was like, thank you. I wasn't thrown over there, but I get to the dugout and they're just like, hey, let's go get X-rays. And so sure enough, went to go get X-rays, too swollen. And then a couple weeks later, they were like, yeah, it's broken in there. I was like, man. So then the whole pandemic came, but I've had this time to heal. Doing full activity. We're actually working out at the new stadium too. Um, I can probably tell you where the best seats are because I've looked, I've seen. I'm like, wow, that looks like a good seat. But yeah, I'm all healthy. I'm ready to go. And then whenever they let us go, I think we're gonna be good to go.
Jose, so you've been with Frisco for a little bit too, right? That's the Double A
Mhm.
affiliate of the Rangers. You had an opportunity to come to Corpus Christi and play against the Hooks, right?
Yeah,
Uh, can you share a little bit about that? You know, coming back home and
yeah,
being,
yeah.
how were the cheers for or against you? And it's like, oh, torn, you know, not sure, you know.
This is the coincidence thing I'm talking about. So obviously, my first game back in Corpus, my whole family's there, and if you know my family, they come to everything. Um, my whole family's there. I have friends there, uncles, aunts, cousins, friends of friends, and everybody's there. It was really awesome. I stayed after to sign autographs for like an hour, but my first game back, first pitch, home run. I'm like, dude, I hadn't hit a home run in Double A yet, and I was like, and I look up and I'm like, of course you would do that right now. Here, my first one. All right, thank you. We'll see you later. But yeah, just like it was like a coincidence. I ended up hitting first pitch, first swing, first at bat, everything in Corpus, home run, and I'm rounding the bases, and people are cheering. It was really awesome. I take pride in where I'm from. I take pride in Corpus Christi. I love where I'm from. I'll support the city no matter what. And it was really cool because I mean, as I climbed the levels of getting up to the big leagues, everybody's like, "Hey, you're Jose. Like, you get a picture." I'm like, "Yeah, this is, it's great." My biggest thing is obviously with the kids. Like, I want kids. I want there to be 1,000 big leaguers from Corpus Christi one day. So if I can help that happen, I really would like. I would love that.
I got a kick out of the news coverage that evening after your first game with Frisco against the Hooks, and I forget who the reporter was, but he said this is the first, maybe not the last, but the first time that the entire stadium erupts for the opposing team.
Yeah, it was really cool. I had some friends that had a suite. Their dad had got a suite. So I was rounding second base and I'm headed towards third and I look up and they're throwing water off the balcony on people like everywhere. They're throwing water everywhere. I'm just cracking up laughing and I'm rounding the bases and I'm like, dude, these dudes are crazy. But yeah, they were throwing water all over everybody. I was like, these dudes are crazy.
Well, the thing is if you're from South Texas and you have your roots down here, uh, all of us can say it. If you have your family coming, it'll fill the
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah.
Probably probably what
Definitely.
happened. The
Definitely.
salt that home run probably. The
Yeah.
feeling back at home.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Well,
All right.
Jose,
Well, go ahead, Father.
so Jose, is there anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
No, just thank y'all for having me. I hope everybody's safe. And just this is gonna pass. What we're going through is gonna pass. It's gonna make us stronger. 10 years from now, we're gonna be like, wow, 2020 was crazy. Be like, I can't believe that. And obviously my son's gonna grow up and be like, hey, were you born in 2020? He's gonna think I'm really old. But this is gonna pass. Just be safe. Take all the precautions everybody needs to, and then we can get back to our regular lives, soon.
Jose, is your son nearby? Can you show him to us?
Give me 2 seconds. He's probably right here by the door.
So Father Vasquez and I, we're getting a real kick out of this, and very, very honored that Jose accepted Father Vasquez's invitation to join us. It's a real special treat for us. We had something else actually planned for this episode, but as faith has it, and our Lord's will and inspiration of the Holy Spirit, we feel that this is very important, for people to hear around the area, especially for some of our young athletes, to see one of our own. Hey!
Oh my gosh!
Say hi, guys. Can you say hi? No clue. No clue.
What is his name?
His name is Josiah Cruz.
Josiah Cruz.
Can you say your name? Josiah Cruz Trevino.
Oh, he
There you
likes
go.
he likes the feel of those things, doesn't he?
He does. He's gonna be a champ. He's gonna be a champ. He's gonna be a champ. Yay! Okay, who's this? Who's this on your shirt?
Mommy.
So he knows. He knows. He knows.
All right. Well,
You know.
Josiah, thank you all very much for joining us. Be assured of our prayer. Pray for us, and thank you so much for thank you so much for joining us. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and we look forward to seeing y'all next time. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jose.
Uh huh.